Hello and welcome to the second episode of Stockport Referee Society Behind the Whistle. I'm Michael Johnson, and in this episode, I was joined by the Secretary of Stockport Referees of 30 years, Bob Hurren. So, firstly, Bob, thank you very much for joining us today for our second episode. And can we also congratulate you on 30 years as Secretary at Stockport Referees?
Thank you.
The first thing we would like to ask is, how did you get into refereeing?
I was in the Air Force, and I was doing a 3-year tour in Cyprus. And in 1971, because I'd been playing football a bit, they said we'd like some referees, and are you interested? And to make it easier for you, we'll give you a week off work. Well, I had to wait a bit, about 30 seconds before I said yes. Anyway, so that's how I got started, and that's how it progressed from there, really.
So, how can you just tell us a little bit about how the RA and Stockport, mainly Stockport referees, how they support up and coming referees?
Well, the RA and Stock groups for newly qualified referees and for those with more experience, they all need support, particularly the young ones, particularly those with less life skills, if you like. They need guidance, help, training, mentoring. They need someone who can listen to them if they've had a match that's tested them. I mean, the refereeing is getting harder and harder, and some of these young male and female referees are just asked to go and do a match, and there's no one there with any support for them. They might get abuse, they might get parents on the back, they might get all sorts of pressures put on them, and they need to share those pressures, and we need to help them. So that covers all referees really, but particularly for the young, inexperienced ones.
So, as you're the Secretary of Stockport Referees, can you just tell us how you got into the role?
Well, for a start off, I could read and write. I think that was an asset, the big bonus. Although speaking properly never was a question. I was a member of the RA in Northumberland, and when I moved down here to Stockport, I joined the Stockport Refs Society in 1987, and then I was asked to do the assistant secretary job, which was easy, really, in a sense. You just had to, do a few notes and that sort of stuff. And then in 1989, the secretary, he was going off, I think, to New Zealand, and I think in 1991 I took over as the full-time secretary. He's never come back from New Zealand to help us out, like.
So obviously 30 years have gone by and you're still the secretary. What has changed at Stockport RA?
Oh, I think over the 30 years we've seen a massive change. Computers, new technology, social media, just to name a few, and electricity is good now. But in those days, everything was handwritten. All your fixtures came through the post, and you had a certain time scale of which to answer them, and formally right back with your closed dates and all of that. All the misconduct reports had to be handwritten, and you had to keep a copy for yourself. So there was carbon paper and all sorts of rubbish. And nowadays, you just do everything by computer, and it makes the world so much easier. But because refereeing's got much harder, social media is involved in a great deal of activity these days, and again, it's all pressures put on referees. So I think computers, technology, social media I would sum the major changes in those years. Yeah. Including coverage on the television for referees at a higher level.
So just on that social media aspect, how beneficial is that, in your opinion?
Referees can get into trouble with social media. They can get themselves in difficulties by commenting and making adverse comments about managers or players or clubs. And again, referees of all ages and all experience need guidance how to be very careful when using social media. So I don't think it makes the job easier. I think it pinpoints referees more and can give them more pressures.
So what advice would you give on referees who are thinking of joining an RA?
One word: join. I mean, I need them to be. I need them to be members. I can't stress enough how important it is to be a member. They will never know when they will need the support of the Referees Association or Stockport refs. I'm not just talking about the serious stuff. I'm about representation or insurance or the RA Benevolent Fund if they get into financial difficulties. But if things go wrong, then we need to support our members. And you'll be quite surprised how many members do get in difficulties of sorts. But it's not just solely for the more serious stuff. The social aspects, the meetings, getting to know other referees, gaining experience, learning from colleagues, and the camaraderie of being part of a refereeing family. We're all in the same boat, really, and we need to support each other.
Yeah, and I mean, just going off that, obviously, I'm a member of Stockport Referees. The Bob Hurren Trophy, obviously formerly known as the Bert Thompson Trophy. Can you just tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I was dead chuffed I really was dead chuffed, Michael, when that was a Bob Hurren Trophy. They were going to put the Bob Hurren Memorial Trophy, but apparently you've got to be dead for that.
Not yet.
So there's an awful lot of pride from me having that trophy named after me. And I'll give you an example. In the last proper season before the pandemic, we had 16 newly qualified referees who volunteered to take part in that trophy. And what we tried to do was we got their fixtures, they sent us their fixtures. We got someone to go out and see them, to mentor them, to give them some guidance, because generally those new referees, there's your match, get on with it.
Yeah. And
they don't have anyone there to give them help or guidance. So the whole point of the Bob Hurren Trophy is to help the newly qualified refs, and the winner of that competition every season gets the trophy. And some of the lads who've won it already are really climbing up the ladder, and that chuffs me up as well. So really, I don't think we can get enough support and mentoring to all the referees. So that concentrates Stockport refs' mind of looking after the ones who want to take part in that competition.
And it is a competition. I think the key thing there is it's not formal assessment; it's the guidance.
That's right.
Really helps them. And
yeah, and someone you can talk to them at half time and say, "What do you think about that?" Or at the end, what did you think you did right? And that just give them someone to talk to and watch the game. And it's I think it helps them.
Definitely. So we know you've been the secretary of Stockport Referees for 30 years. You're not going anywhere yet.
Thanks.
What is your vision for Stockport Referees over the next few years?
That's quite a hard one, really. We need to continue looking after referees of all levels. Yeah. We know refereeing is getting harder and harder. We know that the amount of young referees, both male and female, start doing the job, and they suddenly get abuse, or something happens and they no longer wish to referee. We need to guide them and help them through that bit. I mean, prior to the pandemic, we had about 130 members, and unfortunately, those numbers have decreased over this last year. People aren't refereeing, people at university, people stopping refereeing, but there's been a decline, and we need to rectify that and put that right. And we need to continue increasing the RA membership and to carry on with the long tradition of supporting referees in Stockport. and hopefully getting back at Stockport County, meeting formally once a month. We will hopefully carry on looking after and supporting all the refs in Stockport and the surrounding areas.
Definitely. Bob, thank you very much for joining us today. And also thank you for the last 30 years at Stockport Referees.
Thanks very much, Michael. Nice to talk to you, son.
So thank you to Bob Hurren for joining us for this episode of Behind the Whistle, the Society's View. Don't forget, over the next few weeks, we've got more great episodes coming your way. So keep an eye out on the website and our various social media channels.